Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncovered No More. This is part 3 for an article on uncoverednomore.blog. And I wasn't able to get out the bottom line of part 2 as it concerns Mary L. Trump, Bernice King, and Kara Coffey. I had shared that Mary Trump's book, The Reckoning, is something I am beginning to read. I've read the introduction, already produced some artwork in the book, but I cannot take it to the book review book that I am using for many works because it belongs to the King of Kings. And right now, I have decided I need to do parts 1 through 6 T.S. Eliot's poems. They are very powerful. Just like Stephen Vincent Benet and Elizabeth Barrett and Robert Browning. These are very powerful poets. When someone like me begins to take those kinds of books in, and Ralph H. Bloom's Runestones book and the runestones that come with it, you are looking at having prior wisdom with these people because of our spiritual side, how well developed it is. And so in part 2, I talked about how there was a difference between Mary Trump, Kara Coffey, and Bernice King. And we all know that Bernice King is Martin Luther King Jr.'s daughter. And what I said was, and kept saying was, the difference is that we are two parts. We are soul and spirit, and we are body. I explained that, and that is not the first YouTube that I've explained that concept. But I did not bring it to a point as it concerned me because I am quote-unquote claiming that there is something different about me, that I have power, but I do not have a support system like they have, okay? I do not have a support system, so it looks like I am powerless. When I'm not. Indeed, the gospel record clearly states that I will lose everything and everyone for my testimony of how the King of Kings is back and dwelling this time. And what you don't know and I don't know is how many times has he done this? Up to this point, today, I can tell you it's none of our business, or he'd make it known. You can't trust a Christian teacher out there. All they do is belch up the Bible and make it sound encouraging. So sorry to bring you to reality, America, but that's the truth. Okay, so what's the difference between me, who looks like I'm powerless, and Bernice King and Mary Trump, who have followings, who are powerful, who even have people, Mary, she's getting on podcasts and whatnot, being interviewed because we do support her voice, okay? I don't have anybody supporting my voice, which is just hilarious because that's not true. But people don't like to come into real reality with me. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm going into real reality anyway, and you've learned that the hard way for 14 years, and I am going to just set the record straight on Uncovered No More, which has been through a lot of evolution over the years, not to mention my sister and brother sites, which is, what did you just find out about me? I can tell you whether I'm sistering people or brothering people with my websites. Because here's the deal. I give different ancient souls, or less ancient souls, as it were, authority with my writing. I'm not just one voice. I'm a universalist. There are lots of people like that around me. A lot in our population. None of them. Most of them. I'm not going to say none of them. Most of them are not calling themselves Christians still. Okay. I'm about to head to a Christian church meeting, but I'm not a Christian. But I just had to tell a teacher of one of my children in the private school system of our situation that I'm a sorceress. And I've been a Christian for 48 years. So you go try to figure out how complicated my life is. I already know how complicated my life is, okay? Explaining the spiritual to people who don't believe that Jesus is actually here is complicated. Okay, so what is different about me than Mary Trump and Bernice King? And there doesn't have to be anything wrong with all of us powerful ladies for there to be differences, right? It's just that in America, if you don't have a following and money and stuff, you're powerless and you're stupid and you don't have a voice, which is bullshit. Or I wouldn't have all the blogs that I have. And as a matter of fact, the part 2 that is not as conclusive as I wanted it to be, so therefore this 3-part is here, I told you point blank, I won't even ever think about leaving my voice to myself. Because that's the only way that the King and I can communicate. If you think I need him to be in the room talking face to face with me, you're not a Christian, all right? Because you're not recognizing your soul and spirit life. And you want him to stay high in the sky so that you can manipulate what you actually just think the man says. And you're stupid doing that. You're in the dark ages of Christianity. And then you've got the other Christians who are charismatics and ultra charismatics. I'm from the Pentecostal side, y'all. And that's where Donald Trump hires a woman who was in the Trump penthouse thingy or whatever. And she's just a money whore. Paula Kane White or White Kane, whatever. That was his spiritual advisor. Yeah, they don't want me showing up to her shit. I'll show you spiritual. You won't like it. I'll make sure. I just won't do enough to get arrested because I don't like prison food. Okay. I mean it. I'd rather fix my own. I do value a little bit of freedom, even if I'm as misunderstood as I actually am and everything. I can at least fix my own salad and chicken. How nice. The difference between me and Bernice King, and let me be clear, Bernice King is ensconced still in the Christian world. Mary Trump is not, and never was, well-educated, and has to deal with Donald Trump. And what I found out in the introduction of her book, The Reckoning, is that she's never associated with the family. When people asked if she was associated with him, she said no, because there's other Trumps out there not related to him, and they would show remorse. Oh, you would want to be. And if you asked a lot of kids, like even Barron Trump, if you asked him, do you really, 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 really want to be associated with all this money and power and stuff? First off, I don't think you'd get a an honest answer out of him, because you certainly can't get anything honest out of Melania. Melania Trump is just a piece of controlled reality. That's a prison in and of itself. I have prayed for Melania Trump. I moved on because there's just no way she can speak out. There's no way. It is what it is. She needs to make her happiness, and I do wish her happy. But I don't care what anybody thinks about Donald Trump. It is non-existent to me. It's just no different than Hitler. It just needs to be gotten over. And sadly it can procreate. If I had anything to say to Barron Trump, I'd say, go throw yourself on the doorstep of Mary L. Trump. She will raise you away from that toxicity, honey. Sweet man. You've got a sweetness about you, Barron Trump. Maybe this message will reach you, or reach Mary. You guys need to stick together, because you can fight this somehow, someday. Try not to turn bitter. I can tell, it looks to me, at least just from a very light position, that you have determined to be there for your mother. Just like the two princes of England, when Diane, Princess of Wales, was mistreated as holistically as she actually was. Okay, so these are realities in life that we all know are there. We all know these realities are there. Okay, so don't bullshit me and pretend that you don't know what I'm talking about, American citizen. Don't bullshit me. You know this shit exists. You know this kind of control is out there. From least to greatest. Those who make the money have more of a say than those who don't. Okay? The difference is just what I shared. Do you understand the kind of perception that I have, America? To have the privilege in part two to actually come to the beautiful place I did, it takes a certain level of something in my body and metaphysical side, both. It takes something, and I have it, and I don't know how many other people besides the King of Kings has it. Okay, and what it is that there's a spirituality, metaphysicality, soulishness that perpetuates love never fails, even when Donald Trump is president and should have been in jail well before the point he became president. And if you're not willing to admit that, you're MAGA to me. I actually had somebody that I did say that to. It didn't want to say anything because they made some mistakes in my past, and they're still hurting over the mistakes they made in my past. Here's the truth. If you don't want to admit that Donald Trump should have been in jail well before the point that he could start running for president, you're MAGA. You're MAGA. Whether you think you are or not. It's like these people that they'll say that they're not racist when they are. They'll say that they're not sexist when they are. In your dreams, buddy and budette. I've been religious. I have been a white supremacist. It was required of me. It wasn't as bad as Melania Trump, but then again, I have scars from breaking loose. And now you're finding out Beaty-Coffey's going back into the Christian church. And as a matter of fact, I've invited Curtis to try again with me. He's not going to make that decision right now, but and I know I'm in ministry, and so I'm beginning the ministry work for probably the rest of my life. I need to be there. I need to have time in my day my week, in my journey, I need to have time in my week where I'm pagan, and then I need to have time where I'm Christian, because I'm a 48-year Christian, and it makes no sense to my body, my 55-year-old body form and my soul, to not be Christian part of the time, to not appreciate that, to not have some friends in that world. It makes no sense to me. I can't. I've tried and tried and tried. I will say my family has had some mercy and appreciation for that. They can tell I'm hurting constantly because I lost so many friends. I have a son who sat at my dining room table. He's just so done with watching me go through so much. And he just, mom's tragic life. Mom's tragic life. And it is. But I can tell you that son, that one, can actually testify to you that when the really bad, hard decisions had to be made, lo and behold, I had money to pay off my car to give to one of my daughters because she needed it. And we were all desperate. And we still had to do this. And there were no answers. There were only questions and pain. That's when I got disinherited. What do I have that Bernice King in all her beauty and Mary Trump in all her beauty don't have? The ability to set the record straight eternally is one thing I have, and that's why you get me concluding the second part saying we're only two parts. I'm going completely against Christian rhetoric. But I said in that second part, you go listen to it, I'm not coming against the Trinity. I'm not coming against how the Godhead for generations has expressed him herself. Where I get into problems is that the Christian world only says him. Holy Spirit is even too male. I'm the one that can define, and I did define several YouTubes ago. I will tell you, I know what blasphemy of the Holy Spirit is. I've been afraid of that, and afraid of the fact that I speak in tongues and can't interpret it. I've been afraid of those two things for years because of how people make fun of you or fear it with you. Okay. Blasphemy of the Holy Spirit is when you mistreat women and keep doing it. And you can be another woman, but you most definitely can be a man, and you don't have the balls to stop the shit show with male leadership, because men do have a kind of leadership women don't have. And I can just hear the Nazi feminists screaming at me. We're the same, unisex. You can fuck that off. No. There are distinct roles in male authority and female authority, but they're equal. And indeed, I've had others strong like me say, women, even though how the New Testament's teaching is out of date, women can hold forth in the pulpit. Kara, would you do it, since you know that other men, I've never seen the King of Kings in the forms that he is allowing the world to see him. I have never seen him talk about women teaching in the pulpit. So, since I'm Tribe Judah elect, maybe he's deferring to me. I don't know. He just recently, like yesterday, came after Joel Osteen with very good reason. But he's still very kind about it. He's kinder than I am, I'll tell you that right now. But he doesn't hold anything against me. I don't know how to express to you that I don't know what that feels like really close up. I've been blamed for a lot of shit for years. Okay. Even before my marriage, so don't get onto the Coffey family about this. I've been treated a certain way, whether I had a husband and children or not. Yeah. That's true. Okay. So you learned one thing about the difference between me and them. I can channel. I told Curtis today, I'm channeling Martin Luther King Jr. That means Bernice King tweeted a picture of him, and she basically was like, I miss my dad. And it's like, there are times when I miss her dad more than I miss mine right now. Because they're both men of God that weren't listened to. And it's caused pain in the daughters' lives. You can call me strange. But I've got kids like me that don't even want to admit it anymore. They watched me go through so much, and they have to say that their mother's life is tragic. They've been forced to say that because of what happened to me. And I'm still going back, America. Okay, I can channel. It's been that way my whole life. I can read Stephen Vincent Benet, and he's here, like in the car or in the ring with me. That means that I can summon people and they can hear me. I have in real life understanding that I give dreams to people that are communicating with me, not my family. I protect my family from that side of my spirituality. I don't want them to have to deal with it. That's automatic. I want them to be their own individuals. I don't think they understand that about themselves and me. Maybe someday they'll understand themselves and me a little better if I am honest about these things. Like, okay, I can throw a seance as well as I can throw a glory bubble in the Christian church. Does that mean you can light candles and summon Satan and a spirit will show up? Hell, I don't know. I ain't going to try that. I got enough on my plate, much less playing at a seance. No thanks. Seance is serious business. It ain't to play with. I ain't playing with any kind of witchcraft shit. Because there's a lot of spiritualists out there. I got them in my neighborhood. Spiritualists out there. It's like, it's this huge party and it's always Halloween and we get to eat candy to them. Well, that's real convenient, particularly when you're mistreating your parents and not helping them pay the bills and just flittering your life away and expecting everybody to pay your bills and arguing a lot and complaining a lot. You go right ahead. Play your little games. It's not good for you. It's not good for the society. You're not loving yourself really materially. There's a lot of people claiming that they're loving their neighbors and themselves, but when they're loving, how they're loving themselves is pretty selfish. Pretty damn selfish. I've given into selfishness at times when I shouldn't have. I've given into selflessness way more and done harm to myself, allowing people to treat me ways that I should have walked off from or not allowed them to do, just point blank. I had to have the testimony I have. I am not ashamed. I did the best I could with what I was given in those moments. And I do have people in my life that will concede that point as long as I concede it about them, and that's fair. So we concede it about each other. Yes, I have people in my life like that. So the difference is I am a multi-level spiritualist. Now, if I talked to Bernice King, particularly privately, I may find out she's the exact same way and she's hiding it in the public forum. And I support that 100%. But I don't know. And I may never. And that's okay. I'm certainly not asking for that kind of knowledge from her or anyone. I can easily visit with with that is kind and open to universalism the way I proclaim it in the spirit. Yes, I get lonely in the flesh. I have been set apart for a purpose. It is my responsibility to love being set apart. You see me doing that, America. That is why I shift. I shift for myself. I shift for the King of Kings. I shift for my family. And that is called evolving, spiritually and physically, actually. You will have more or less physical health the longer you go, in whatever way you decide to go, depending on how you deal with these things. But I told Curtis today, the past 3 years, I feel like, I said that's 10 years. I aged 10 years in 3 years. That means I have about 20 pounds to lose, 15 to 20 pounds to lose. And I need to be more consistent with exercise and meditation and everything. And I need to let the rest go. And when people are mistreating me, younger than me, I need to continue to try to put some boundaries in place. But see, I'm an empath. And so what hurts them, automatically I can tell they're hurting. And so I have to gauge how many boundaries I put in place, because I've been fought for so long and argued with for so long. It's hard for me to explain to a general populace that doesn't understand my metaphysical side to begin with what that means in my everyday life. That is very hard to explain. But it is obvious that some of the things that have been said about me are point blank lies. Yeah, it's obvious. Because of what I do in love. Not because sometimes I happen to mouth off a lot, because everybody else is bullshitting me. And so to get out of it is tricky. They won't quit. That's called trolling. I've been trolled for years. After I was in cultishness, that, you didn't do it correct, you were going to suffer consequences. So your only choice is like what I'm saying about Melania. Your only choice is to do what you're told. Okay? I'm not in that position anymore as much as I was. I can tell you that. That's the difference between me and the public forum of Mary Trump and Bernice King. And all I know is I don't have a support system, and many of them do. And I'm not just talking about Mary Trump and Bernice King. So I'm taking steps to have a support system that are my business aligned. So those of you who are still lying about me, or still wanting to use me in various ways, if you can just, you were taught better than that, okay? You were taught better than how you're behaving. But if you can just do one thing, why don't you just be happy for this woman who one of my children has openly admitted has a tragic life, that I know how to get up and make it non-tragic my way and still develop the relationships that I'm privileged to have, all of them, not just 11 other members of the Beaty-Coffey family. That's what happens to Christian women. I'll close with that. That's what happens to Christian women, is that we are segued into a tiny life, and we're expected to just live that life. America, I want you to think about that, because there's millions of us. And particularly if we gave up income ability, and we're Gen X, if we gave up income ability, we have no way out. And it is sadistic of you to leave us there without choices. Okay, universal health care. Minimum wage $15 or more. Give us something. We certainly are the backbone of this country. You literally would fall apart if we stopped doing what we're doing, number one. Number two, you already know we never will because we love you that deep. We love you that deep. So that's the difference between me and Bernice King and Mary Trump. Yes, I'm the woman who can say and know that it's true. There's only two parts to every beautiful human being, an ugly one. Soul and spirit. Soul, spirit is metaphysical, and the body that you can touch. Okay. Hitler, Donald Trump, lots of Republican men right now and their families do not have a soul spirit. They are walking around just throwing power around and being ugly. But you need to remember the people under them that are controlled by that narrative, because they're in a cage, and many of them are awake in that cage and have no ability to get out of it. And that's a particular kind of slavery that's not really slavery, because they're well cared for. They're not well cared for if they are being required to hide the fact that that man in their lives that, you know, they're supposed to support is a pedophile. Okay. I am who I am. Bernice King is who she is. Mary Trump is who she is. We all three have equal amounts of power, strangely enough. I have no support system. I'm glad they do. I will take all of those types to task, where someone like myself, who has the testimony I do about the King of Kings, I will take you to task, because you're sitting aside doing nothing for women like me, who equally support, defend, and keep going. In part 2, I told you very clearly, here is why I keep going. It is inconceivably painful to me to not keep my avenues of communications with the King of Kings open. To deny him is to deny myself. And I've got a few other men on this earth, not of my family, that I can say that about. To deny them is to deny myself, because they got me here safely every bit as much as my family structure that did try to support me but are negative for some reason. I've been warning my family for years about their negativity. They're having a hard time listening to me for whatever reason. And they will, if you were to talk to them, they may or may not blame me. I don't know anymore. My son was correct. My life's tragic. What I do with that henceforth is my business alone. I will close with what I have done. I put forth a covenant to several leading members of my family. I am enacting a covenant. Whether or not my family comes with me is their business. I will no longer speak about the past with my family. My one exception is Curtis's, and my relationship is damaged because people set themselves against us. For years, it's happened. Literally, it's not just about the 14 years. So we're moving on that way. We can speak of the vitriol that happened to us if we need to help each other. We actually have a therapist that if we both want to go in together, it is at a point that all three of us, my therapist and Curtis and I, we can meet. It'll be fine. We can help. The therapist can be a third party to help us get through anything. But I will tell you, it will be about relationships from our past and how they're causing pain in our lives and our future, is what Curtis and I would need help with. we take care of our relationship by communicating. Sometimes it's more than we want to, but you have to keep communicating to get through it, is what I know. When it's as bad as it's been, and when IT is as bad as it is, the world of IT, the electronic age world, and as controlling as that world is, as controlling as capitalism is. That's all I can tell you at this point. Okay, so what is it about me? Well, it's my metaphysical side that people can take advantage of. So now you know I have a covenant, and I'm starting over, and I'm going to keep the covenant if others try to trick me still. Unless we're looking at photo albums or just talking about something that's funny and it's not painful to anybody in the room, and we can all laugh together. Unless it's that, the joy in our lives, it doesn't exist to me anymore. Period. So I'm putting boundaries in place at our home to make sure this works, and so is Curtis, and we're gonna stick with that. Finally, I can say that and can conclude the third part, including a bunch of people that don't necessarily like each other. I am the connecting piece. That's the other thing that Bernice King and Mary Trump don't have to do, is connect two literal worlds. Actually, it's three. The first, second, and third heaven, clearly defined by the Apostle Paul in the New Testament. It's 3 parts. There's a 3-part world there that I'm talking about. I'm combining all of that, and I am the lodestone, I'm the lodestone in the New Jerusalem for that, but not for everybody, just for a certain subgroup of people. And so I hope that helps everyone who does not care about me anymore, as I move on caring about you still. Blessed be.